Overnight, agents with the DEA performing secret raids on several NFL teams to investigate whether their medical and training staffs were illegally handling and distributing prescription drugs to players. Completely unannounced, the agents randomly selected teams and spot checked Sunday. DEA searches included San Francisco 49ers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Seattle Seahawks. An unprecedented move, which the DEA says is part of an ongoing investigation into potential violations of the Controlled Substances Act.
The use of drugs, both illegal and legal, in the NFL is in itself no breaking story. Players have been getting jacked up and injected since the first hamstring pull impacted the bottom line. But when the Drug Enforcement Administration pulled surprise inspections of NFL team medical staffs over the weekend, the rules may have changed forever, and a league needs to consider what this will do to the future of their multi-billion-dollar business. Let's welcome to MidPoint an NFL Hall of Famer who to this day remains the standard for being one of the very best. Entrepreneur, successful businessman, and one who speaks from that inside knowledge of the game and its players and executives. You can read all about it at FranTarkenton.com. And here's the man himself, Fran Tarkenton. Fran, thanks for joining us.
Good to be with you.
Fran, when they say that they've been handing out painkillers like candy, as someone who covered the NFL for a lot of years, I can only say we've known this for 20 or 30 years. Do you think the league was really taken by surprise when the DEA suddenly showed up, or did they have an inkling this was going to happen?
The National Football League has historically, and becoming even more, the great cover-up story. They covered up the effect of concussions up until 5 years ago, and now are paying $900–800 million in compensation, but that doesn't help the families because the players are already dead. The painkillers have been there since I was playing in the 60s and 70s. They injected me with butazolidine, among other things, into my right shoulder. When I retired, I had to have my right shoulder replaced. Now it's become epidemic. They are giving these guys high-powered painkillers, whether they're legal or illegal, I don't know. But they're in that locker room every Sunday. They're on that plane going home every Sunday night. And it's out of control. Not to mention the performance-enhancing drugs, which is another giant cover-up. These guys don't get these big bodies that they have without performance-enhancing drugs being epidemic. If you want to see what I'm talking about, go to ESPN on Sunday, and you'll see that the biggest guys on the set of ESPN are the quarterbacks, the guys that play the physical positions, defensive line, offensive line, tight ends and such, are 50 and 60 pounds less than when they played. The quarterbacks are bigger than when they played. And yet nobody wants to talk about it. And thank God, the New York Times today, 2 articles that I would send your listeners to. One of them is about the painkillers targeting, and there's a great article there. Another one was Whisk Out of Jail and Back to the NFL. And it's NFL teams' ties to police put victims of domestic violence in bind.
Which is exactly what we're going to talk about in the second half.
Violence.
Exactly what we're going to talk about right after the break. You're right. About the minute 30 that we have left here then. Do you believe that the league was already well involved in covering this up? After the entire lawsuit began, they knew that this was going to happen sooner or later. They were prepared that the DEA or anybody would walk in and find absolutely nothing.
I would be shocked if they find anything. They've been, as I said, been doing this for 60 years. It's a multi-billion-dollar thing with great influence. In our day, the security was ex-FBI agents. Now they've got former police officers or off-duty police officers. They've got security upon security because they can.
Would it be your belief then? Would it be your belief then that knowing all these people who were involved, that it's likely, not that it happened, but likely that somebody tipped the NFL off and they knew this was coming?
Oh, I'm sure. The NFL's not going to get caught by surprise, and the only thing that now you're seeing some players talk about their use and given the painkillers and how that was done illegally. You don't hear any player though talk about PEDs because they won't, because they don't want anybody to know after they retired that they were able to perform at a high level because they had help. But on the painkillers, they can do that and blame that on the teams. Shame on them for not being able to come forth and say, you know, this PEDs is killing people, causing injury. It makes people bigger, stronger, faster, and more violent. And that's causing premature deaths by players of this generation.
Okay, hold on to that for 1 second here. Breaking back with Fran Tarkenton as we spin to the other issue that he mentioned. Players going scot-free for crimes such as sexual abuse still. And at 51 minutes after the hour, Telling It Like It Is pays a surprise visit to the knee-jerkers who don't get the meaning of a perfect song for Veterans Day. It's right here on MidPoint.